Well, I don't know what our what's the word? What's the word for the thing we do at the beginning of these things? Cold intro.
Well, it's a new year.
Oh yeah, it's a new year. How was your new year, Luke?
Yeah, it was good. I just hung out with some people. But yeah, it's new year, new me, new year, new podcast.
Yeah. What are your New Year's resolutions, Luke?
I don't know, Michael. I don't know. I stopped doing resolutions like a decade ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were very big on self-improvement when you were 12.
Yeah. And what about you?
Yeah, my New Year's resolution is to upload the podcast consistently at a consistent time every week.
That's a very good New Year's resolution, Michael. Well done.
Anyway, so let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Back up, chump, you know Biggie Smalls rips it quick and kicks it quick. You know how black niggas get with the hoods, fatigues, with the boots, with trees. Whipping trees, making crazy cheese. Hitting buckshots at niggas that open spots on the avenue. Take my loot and I'm bagging. Pippin' hoes that drive Bobos and rodeos. Flash the roll, make a wreck in they pantyhose. Damn, a nigga style is unorthodox, grip the clock. When I walk down the crowded block, just in case a nigga wanna act out, I just black out and blow the motherfucking back out. That's a real nigga for you.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see if they still hold up upon a second watch. I am your host Michael and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke, and this week we're looking at Slumdog Millionaire. And Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Slumdog Millionaire?
Certainly, Michael. So, did you say why we're doing it, by the way?
Oh no, you can. Okay, I'll say why we're doing it. It's because it's the It's the oh, I know what it is. It's the 10th anniversary.
Yes, it is. So it came out. Well, I'll say when it came out. So Slumdog Millionaire is a 2008 British drama film that is a loose adaptation of the novel Q&A 2005 by Indian author Vikas Swarup. I hope I pronounced that correctly. It was directed by Danny Boyle. The screenplay was by Simon. Why do people have such weird names? I'm not. It was a play by a guy called. No. It's like Beaufoy. Pronounce that for me, Michael.
Wait. Beefou. What?
Beaufoy.
Beaufoy. I'd say it sounds like French. I'd be like Bouffoy.
Bouffoy. Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Like bouffe bourguignon.
Yes. No, it says he's British, so pronounce it in a British way.
Well, I mean, like, some people, like, I don't know, I mean, there are people in Britain who have French names. I'm not sure if I can think of any examples, but, you know, like, sometimes you'll be watching football and you'll hear someone, like, on the English team and they got a name, it doesn't sound like it should be English.
What are you saying, Michael?
Like, what's the guy's name? Rio Ferdinand. What a non-English sounding name.
Okay.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No. Yeah. So, Slumdog Millionaire stars Dev Patel, Frida Pinto, Madhur Mittal, Anil Kapoor, and Irfan Khan. It was released on the 9th of January 2009 in the United Kingdom, and just a week later in India. So yeah, just almost 10 years ago. And do you want to have a go at the budget, Mike? It's in pounds, by the way, in budget.
Pounds? Oh. I'm going to go for it cost 20 million rupees. No, I mean, Danny Boyle, he does kind of like, he's a bit of an underground director, I think. But having said that, I think this film would have been quite demanding budgetarily. So I think this film would have cost the amount that it needed to cost. I don't think this would be one of those films where it had like a massive budget. So I'm going to go for 30 million.
Half that, Michael.
Half that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Only £15 million.
Yeah, I thought it would be quite cheap, but yeah, I'm impressed that they were able to. I guess I don't know. I mean, it's kind of one of those weird things because you just don't know. Like, it's always weird things that cost money with films. But I guess like they didn't have to buy any portable toilets because everyone just crapped in rivers.
Yeah, I guess that will save them some of the costs. What's the box office?
I'm going to guess that the box office was, I think this film made quite a lot. I think this film's quite successful. Let's go for over 100 million, over 200 million, over 300 million. But let's say almost 400 million. Let's go for, it's one of those things you never know. Obviously, I don't know if, I might be completely blanking it. So have you mentioned this film won Best Picture yet?
No, I haven't, but I was going to do that after this.
I thought you were going to mention it at some point. Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, but that it doesn't necessarily mean it was really successful. I'm going to go for 390 million.
You know what, Michael? It's a very, very good guess. 378 million. So,
good.
Yeah, no, you got that.
I was going to go for 380 million, though, so that's quite distressing.
So, well, as you mentioned, Michael, Slumdog Millionaire was nominated for 10 Academy Awards in 2009 and won 8, the most of any 2008 film, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay. It won 7 BAFTA awards as well, which are always incredibly important. However, it was also...
British Association of Film and Television Awards.
Yes.
Is that what it stands for? Well, you know what, to call them BAFTA awards, it's an example of what they call RAS syndrome, which stands for Redundant Acronym Syndrome.
Oh.
It's like when people say PIN number, Personal Identification Number.
I see. Yeah, DC Comics.
So, yeah, DC Comics.
Yeah.
People love that.
Yeah.
BAFTA awards. Anyway. Onwards and upwards.
Mm-hmm. Did you like it?
Did I like it? I thought this film was good. So yeah, I did like it.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was... I didn't love it.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things, it was, I'm not going to say I didn't like it, but, it was definitely a series of things that happened.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say that it is the most unjustified Best Picture winner since Crash?
Oh, I didn't know if I'd say that. I'd have to go through
all
the winners, yeah. But
yeah, that's true.
I was thinking, obviously, when I was watching this movie, I was like, oh yeah, I can understand why it won Best Picture, but maybe it's, I don't know if it's undeserved, but maybe it's not good enough to win Best Picture.
Yeah. Well, do you know what should have won Best Picture?
What?
It's actually my favourite film of all time, was out at the same time as, or in contestation for the Best Picture.
Mm-hmm. What?
A Serious Man. I think I'm right about that.
Oh, so what?
Let's check.
That's why you asked the question immediately, because you're just bitter about A Serious Man losing.
Yeah, well, you know what, Luke? Not all of us can have our favourite films win Best Picture.
No, not all of us can. Okay.
Especially if your favourite film is Sucker Punch. Which...
that's great. So, anyway, Michael, nitpicks. How many nitpicks did you have?
I had 2, I think. Let me just double check. Okay, well, I kind of had 3, but one of them was a very broad nitpick.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I had
how many of you?
2.
All right, so you can go first.
Okay, so my first nitpick, if I can just get it up. So the host, I can't remember what he's called, but the host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, he can't, yeah. If you don't know who I'm talking about, then,
Yeah.
So he can't,
It's Taron.
Yeah, he can't say millionaire. He says millionaire instead. He misses the O in millionaire. It should be millionaire, but he keeps saying millionaire. He doesn't know how to pronounce it, Michael. It's incredibly annoying. It's not hard to just say millionaire instead of just skipping that sound altogether. So yeah, first nitpick. Second one, why does Salim, the brother, bring Jamal to sing for that gangster guy Mammon instead of just escaping? Obviously he got the 10, but I don't know how many rupees they got from him. But yeah, it's just incredibly risky to do that. If I was...
Yeah, you're right, yeah. That doesn't... Yeah, that's a good point. It doesn't make any sense.
If I was sailing, I'd just be let's just escape right now. They won't even know we're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, Luke, to be honest. It's a very silly... Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. My two that are kind of proper ones, that are I don't know.
Are you saying mine wasn't a proper one?
No, sorry, I'm saying that my third one might not be a proper one.
Right, okay.
But well, it kind of is. So my 2 first ones are actually both on the exact same scene and literally the exact same line.
Okay.
Well, kind of. So basically, they rub chilies on this guy's dick, or I should say, little child's dick. And
why did you say that?
Oh, I didn't want people to think I was being too formal about it. Like, just a guy. Like, it should be noted, it is a child.
Okay, go on.
So they rubbed chili on this young man's dick, and then, first of all, the girl is wearing gloves, and I'm thinking, like, I don't know, if I were her, I would say that the benefit of doing this little prank is that you get some sense of anonymity, but she's just got these gloves on, and I'm thinking, like, just take them off. I mean, it's better, really, because then he won't notice you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then number two is that during that exact scene, they're chanting "Chili's on his willies" or "Chili's in his willies." I don't think they actually say willies. Actually, I think they say "Chili on his willy." But they're speaking it in a foreign language, and here's the thing: "Chili on his willy" works as like a taunt in English, not British, in English. But they're not speaking English; they're speaking some other language. So I want to know is does the phrase "Chili on his willy" rhyme in this other language, or is it just it's a lie?
Maybe it does, Michael. We can never know.
Yeah, and then the final one is a very broad one, but it's just that, like, they very obviously should want Slumdog Millionaire to succeed. I've forgotten his name, Jamal. They very obviously should want him to succeed. So the entire premise of the film is that, like, they're very annoyed at the prospect that this Slumdog Millionaire.
The plot, Michael.
Okay, that's why I was saying it might not be a nitpick, because I thought you'd want. All right, that's fine. So we'll put that aside for a minute.
Mm-hmm. We will.
But I win the bringing it up first competition.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of the plot, Luke.
Yeah, I should give a sum. I don't think I have done that.
No, yeah, you haven't, Luke.
Yeah,
you're awful.
I haven't. I'll do that now. So, Jamal is the main character. He is a contestant on the Indian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He surprises everyone by being able to answer every question correctly. However, he is accused of cheating, and Jamal recounts his life story to the police, illustrating how he is able to answer each question correctly. And at the end, he answers the final question correctly and manages to win 20 million rupee and also get his girl back as well. So it all ends well for him. Happy ending.
Yeah, except his brother's dead. Well, his brother was a dick. So.
Yeah, his brother wasn't a nice guy. So, I'll be really sad that he died. And he did it in a very symbolic way as well. So
yeah, he did. But I thought he was going to set the money on fire. Like, I think that's dumb. Like, I think, I mean, what's the, like, I guess he's lying in the money and, I don't know, gets it covered in his blood. That would be annoying. But, yeah, he definitely should have set it on fire. That would have been so dank, like the Joker.
Oh, yeah, but it's a very artistic way of dying. Like, the fire kind of makes it just not as artistic. And that's what he was clearly going for. Sorry?
Anything can be artistic if you shoot it correctly.
No, I guess so.
If you shoot it with a gun correctly.
So, the plot, Michael. The plot.
Yes, the plot.
What do you think of the plot? You can go first.
Well, obviously, it is a unique structure that is, in some ways, similar to the classic film Tom Hanks in actually Forrest Gump. I actually almost blanked on the name of the film. Yeah, Forrest Gump. So it's an old anthology or episodic film where somebody tells a series of stories about their life. However,
yeah, no, that is a good comparison. I was thinking while watching this, has there ever been something like this? I can't remember, but obviously Forrest Gump. That is correct. Yes. Yes,
and there have been other films which involve people accounting events, but not quite as episodic. Like, for example, The Grand Budapest Hotel, but that's not really. Yeah. But yeah, so the whole lots and lots of different events in somebody's life is somewhat unique, I think, to this film and Forrest Gump. But obviously it has a slightly more what would be the word? Impactful framing device. Rather than some guy just sat on a bench eating chocolate. And the film...
Dev Patel doesn't say it. Life is like a box of chocolates.
The film opens in a very violent way, in a way, because he's like... Well, it's like... I think if I remember it correctly, it's like it's cutting between scenes of him in the, millionaire chair. I think that's what it's called. Let's call it that. The millionaire chair versus him being beaten up and tortured by the police. And that's pretty exciting. It makes you go, ooh, this is exciting. And that's good. And then obviously you get the each story, which is somewhat, not entirely, but generally framed by a question's asked. And then it's like, how would you know the answer to that question? And then he tells a story, and then it's revealed that that's how he knew the answer, and then you repeat it.
I do love the concept that he only knew the answers because of his life experience, like it's his destiny.
Oh, wait, hold a minute, Luke. I need to ask. I bet you didn't. Did you watch Slumdog The Price is Right?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay, well, I'll explain it to you anyway.
Explain.
I'll explain the basic.
To
so basically, he's on The Price is Right, and he gets. I was like, how much is this worth? I think it's like the dining room set, not dining room set, the patio set.
Yeah.
It's like, how much is this worth? He says the right answer, and then it smash cuts to him being punched. It's like, how would a slumdog let you know an answer like that? And it shows his his village or whatever being attacked by a bunch of people, and the mum's like, they go to take the dining room, the patio set, and she's like, no, leave the patio set. It only costs $2.49, and then she gets shot in the head. And then he goes to see his brother, and his brother's got his gun and his girl, and he's like, get out of here, take the go to a shop and purchase, and he lists all these different things, like a set of golf clubs, Ford Fiesta, blah blah blah, and then he hands him money. He's like, this is $249.33. It'll cover everything. And then there's a bit where the guy's like, now I will suck your eyes out with this vacuum cleaner that I got for £25. Things like that. So obviously, I mean, they didn't actually keep switching between different currencies like I just did then, but very funny. And then at the end they have a massive dance, which we'll talk about later probably, because that's funny. Okay. But yeah, so here's the thing. Can you remember each little self-contained story? Because, okay, first of all, you get the Pooh story, where...
Oh, he signs an autograph.
Yeah, he gets an autograph signed, and his brother's a dick, because his brother sells the autograph, even though he had to jump in poo to get it. And, I mean, I would be annoyed, to be honest.
So that's the first one. But
and then I think the second one is the one about the Hindu god, and they get attacked. And I was curious about the history of like religious violence, and I found out this is probably based
the Bombay riots.
Maybe so possibly 1992 Bombay riots.
Yes.
During which 375 Muslims and 275 Hindus were killed. However, to me those numbers sound very rounded. So I don't know. It sounds like a conspiracy theory to me. 375 and 275.
Yeah, I guess so. Or,
I think it was made up by Danny Boyle.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess those that's not many people, to be honest. I know
it's one of those things
tragic,
like,
but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, especially since it's India.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, like 22 million people live in Mumbai or whatever. Like, you have like 500 people dying.
Yeah, speaking of riots that happened in 1992, I think this is when. So the LA riots.
Yes, the LA riots happened that year as well.
I'm really confused at how so few people died during the LA riots, because have you ever seen like the footage of quote unquote roof Koreans?
No.
Okay, so the story goes that obviously there was a lot of looting going on in the LA riots, and Koreans owned a lot of local convenience stores in LA, and there's a lot of footage of Koreans staking out their rooftops with AK-47s and all that kind of stuff, in full-on military gear, protecting their convenience stores from looters. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you look it up and it's like, I actually can't remember. I'll look it up here. But it's like something relatively low. I'm going to find this out.
Come on.
Oh, wait. Oh, I think it's... Okay, deaths. 63. Okay, 63 deaths. And, like, that seems like a lot. But then you think to yourself, like, you've got gangsters who have guns. You've got people who are protecting their property who have guns. It's kind of just surprising that you didn't get more people. Like, we make fun of Americans for being stupid and fat and trigger happy and for voting for Donald Trump. But it's kind of impressive that during that massive riot in, like, a city with millions of people, where every single person has guns, and you pretty much, like, I mean, you could have got away with killing someone. Like, if someone's coming into your house and you've got a shotgun, you could kill them and no one would care. So it took a lot of restraint, I think.
Yeah, you know what, Michael, that is a good point. When we do American History X, you can expand upon this point.
Yes. So the important thing is, basically what I'm saying is people are actually quite crap at rioting. And that's proved by the fact that a bunch of Indians who probably didn't even have guns were able to kill way more people than the rioters in LA. I think the rioters in LA should be ashamed.
Good point. Yeah, no, but back to the whole concept of Jamal only knowing the answers because of his life experiences. Like, that is, I really like that, because I was wondering before watching this movie originally, like, okay, the drama of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire would be really helpful, but you can't just have a movie about that, like a guy just, you know, going through the stages of the show. You know, you need something alongside it like this. It is kind of it's a fairy tale kind of story. You know,
Yeah.
I think you would agree.
Yeah.
You can tell it was a novel beforehand. But I do love the idea, because it's such a genius but simple idea. You know, a guy, he's only in this situation because all of my life has just been leading to this moment, and just my life story has allowed me to answer these questions. You know, it's yeah, like I said, just a fairy tale. I would have liked more stories and more millionaire questions, because I think there was only about 5 stories, and the answer
it did seem a bit short. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think obviously there's 15 questions in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, so we would have not seen some questions as well. So yeah, I would have liked to see more of that, because I think that was the best part, when you see the story and how he knows this, and then there's the payoff of him answering the question correctly. That right there, that was the best part of the movie, and I just wish we'd seen more of that throughout the movie.
So yeah, kind of like almost more consistent structure in a way. So it's like because obviously the structure kind of dipped. It wasn't. Yeah, there was sometimes it was directly correlated to the question and anything, and then it was sometimes like a lot of stuff would happen, and it would kind of just be like filling in the blanks. You're like, oh, but it's not explaining to me why he knew who's on the $100 bill. Yeah,
it did eventually though.
Yeah, it did explain.
Yeah, but there was like there was just like large gaps in his life story. Sorry, there was just large gaps between the millionaire questions where he's explaining his life story, and it's not relevant to the question he answered or what the officers would really want to know. So it was like, yeah. I mean, obviously you need that. There's got to be a plot. There's got to be a story to it, because you know otherwise it doesn't feel as connected. Then it's not a life story, I guess. Then it's just various things happened in my life, and there's no connection between all of this. So yeah, I guess you do need long periods of him just telling his life story to make it seem coherent, I guess, and a story. So yeah. Do you know what, Michael? I think it's time. Have you got anything else to say on the concept?
I did have one thing to say, actually.
Okay.
How does it make you feel that if you were on Indian Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you wouldn't even get past the first round? The first round was the autograph question, where it was like, who's this famous Indian and all this stuff.
No,
I'm just going to...
I'd do the answer. Sorry, ask the audience.
Oh yeah, well actually that's true, yeah. But then you wouldn't have it for anything else. But yeah, you get past. To be honest, anyone can get past the first round if they use the audience.
He uses the audience one on like, what is the?
It's what's the motto?
What's the motto of India? And it's like the only truth is money. The only truth is and it's obviously I can't remember what the first one was, but it was that one. The answer was A, and it's pretty obvious. And he didn't like. It would be none of the other 3, and he has to ask the audience.
Yeah, well, I think in a way it's like kind of clever that they made it so he didn't know all the answers. I thought that was kind of a good move, because it was like it would have been a bit. It would have. I mean, obviously you could say.
Well, it was used to show he's not that. He's not a genius.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it kind of made the film more likely, even though obviously it's kind of ridiculous to even attempt to make this film more likely, since it's so ridiculous. But
I'm just saying they could have done a better question than that. I like the idea, just it was executed wrong, because it was obviously A, and I didn't know the motto, and I was like, yeah, it's A. It's like, come on, it won't be the other 3, would it? So
Yeah, that's true.
I think the audience
yeah.
laughed out after B, C, and D. So that's a pretty good clue that it's A.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, I did have one final thing. So it's a very esoteric point to make that will probably be irrelevant. But have you seen the film Life of Pi?
I haven't, but I know
See,
what
well,
it is.
Life of Pi is similar in that it's about an Indian person, which there aren't many films about Indian people.
It's just, I can already
But
see
the other thing
similarities.
is, so in Life of Pi, basically, very simple version of it. This is kind of a spoiler, but who cares? The Life of Pi person is basically trying to make a large point, but ultimately he tells this very convoluted story wherein loads of really lucky coincidental things happen. And at the end, he basically reveals that the entire story is made up. And I was kind of thinking of that when I was watching this, because I was thinking to myself, like, this all seems very contrived. Maybe it's all actually a lie, and maybe he was actually cheating. But yeah, didn't even happen, so it doesn't matter.
No, it wouldn't be like that. Like
No, I was just thinking of. I was kind of just thinking of it in my head because I was thinking about the Life of Pi, and I was thinking, remember in the Life of Pi when there was loads of crazy coincidental stuff that happened, and then at the end it turned out it was all made up. Anyway, Life of Pi is quite good. I mean, I know that sounds like a completely bullshit thing, but it actually works quite well. So don't let me put you off. Don't let the fact that sounds like complete nonsense put you off watching it.
Yeah.
Anybody.
I just want to say, actually, at the end as well, I really like how the film wraps up.
There was
in
a
the
big
end.
dance-off.
Well,
You really liked how there was a big dance-off at the end.
before that, the actual ending of the movie.
Oh,
with,
you hated the dance-off.
Yeah, I hated it. So Salim, his brother, sacrifices himself, and obviously Jamal calling his brother, who gives the phone to Latika. It's a really nice ending where he gets to speak on the phone to him. To her. But I just wish there had been a reason for the last answer. Like, he just guesses A, which you could argue makes it even more like it was written, because it's just like a leap of faith. He's just like, A. Like, but even if the answer was D, it would make it better, because that was it was written option given at the start and the end of the movie. On like the black screen. And it's like, how does Jamal get this far? Is it A, because he's cheating? B, he gets lucky? C, he's a genius? Or D, it was written? Like, if Aramis was option
you're right.
D,
That would have been more clever.
Yeah, so Aramis is option D. It was like, I'm going to pick D because it was written, but they chose A, so I don't know, man.
Yeah, they could have. I mean, like, they could have made it so he takes the money, and they could have made it so it was wrong, and it would have kind of been like. I mean, I felt there was a point they could have made if they'd done that, but I guess they didn't have to make a point, so
yeah,
there we go.
Yeah,
anyway,
they can do what they like.
So I was thinking, you were about to move on to something.
I was about to move on to something, Michael. I was going to move on to the host.
Oh, the host.
Yeah, the host.
The host with the most.
The host with the most. Well, yeah, the most money who's ever come from a slum, apparently. What was he called? I'm going to get him up because I don't want to get it wrong. Anil Kapoor as Prem Kumar. So that's him. The game show host. Yeah, Harold and Kumar. Yes. So this guy. Okay. Why does he want to sabotage Jamal? Like,
it is so like.
Surely it would make him even more famous if Jamal ended up winning the money. It's great for the show, so therefore it's great for the host. You get international attention. Now there's this idea like, oh, maybe he doesn't want someone else to emulate his success and take the attention away from him. But like, think of the fame that would come from that story. Like, the ratings he would have gotten, and did obviously get. Like, it would have been, like I say, the story would have garnered international attention. He would have been doing interviews. He would have become a big star. Maybe not just in India. And he's just like, nah, I don't want it to happen. Because, then this guy would take the show away from me. It's just such a bullshit reason, Michael.
Yeah, it is. It's silly. And also, like, the fact that, like, Mr. Jamal himself kind of just, like, doesn't really acknowledge the fact this guy just tried to sabotage him. He's just like, yeah, I think you're trying to sabotage me. I mean, I guess he wouldn't have had much of an opportunity to acknowledge it. But I like to think, like, that Mr. Jamal would get in trouble. I mean, not Mr. Jamal. Mr. Millionaire guy would. Like, there'd be a moment afterwards where Jamal was like, hey, that guy, he tried to feed me the wrong answer. Or maybe someone would walk in and, like, he did admit to somebody. He admitted to the police that he fed him a wrong. Well, I don't know if he did admit to the police he fed him a wrong answer. He admitted to some duty he fed him the wrong answer. And also, when he got the police to come over for cheating, it might have been because he was like, I gave him the wrong answer. And so basically, there's a big thing connecting him back to giving somebody the wrong answer. So maybe he's going to get fired.
Well, it's his
in my head canon.
Apparently.
Well, they say that, but Do you know that Jeremy Clarkson's doing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire
Yeah,
now?
I know, because I know this because Dylan is a big fan of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and he watched it whenever it was on, like back in March or April or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the show Who Wants to Marry a Billion Bears?
Is that an actual show?
I think it's from The Simpsons for some reason.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's from The Simpsons, it must be funny.
Yeah, I know, yeah. So, basically, what we've learned here is, have you ever seen a video of the guy who is really confident that he's going to win Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and then he loses really early?
No, I haven't, no.
It's pretty funny.
I thought you were going to say the guy who's really confident he's going to win $1 million because of his dad. That was the first.
Yeah, and he says, hey Dad, I don't need your help. I just want to let you know I'm going to win the million. Can we talk about that episode? Have you actually seen it all the way through?
Yes, I have, yes.
So this might just be me, but many of those answers were incredibly, staggeringly obvious. I think, like, for example, the penultimate or perhaps tertiary ultimate. That's my word for third last question was like, which of these religions is polytheistic? Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, or Hinduism? Like, that was one of the questions. It was like towards the end, and I was like, seriously?
Poly means many. Theistic is obviously belief in God. So which religion believes in many gods? It's not Christianity.
So
it's not Buddhism. Yeah. It's not Islam. Oh yeah, maybe it's Hinduism. They've got like 50 of them.
Like, the thing is, like, I'm not going to say like I could have done it as well, because I don't know anything about which president appeared on Laughed In.
Yeah,
I think, like, I kind of was thinking about it as I was doing it, and I'm pretty sure that with the 3 lifelines plus just basic knowledge, I think I could have won $1 million there too.
Yeah, I know that. I was watching it and I was like, oh my god, these questions are really easy. And I didn't know. I didn't know it was the American version, that they just do easier questions because Americans aren't that smart, and they just want
because $1 million is worth less in America.
Yeah, or it was one of the early iterations of the show, and they just wanted the millionaire quickly, and then they made it harder.
Yeah. Well, I heard that there was actually quite a long period where I think actually that guy, I might be lying about this, but I think that guy was actually in season 2, and in season 1 they hadn't had a single millionaire.
Yeah, no, he was the first one to win it. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were like, okay, well, yeah, we've got to make somebody win. So, yeah, but yeah, basically, so I think that would have been a good film.
Yeah.
About that guy.
Yeah. That's so.
So yeah, I mean, basically what we've established is the guy is just ridiculous. The motivation is kind of dumb.
It's very dumb, Michael.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, like, by making his interrogation so ridiculously violent, they kind of needed to retroactively justify the serious amount of suspicion. Like, they could have just made it so, he was doing well, so the police take him in for questioning, and they're like, hey, we want to know, like, why are you doing so well? And then he just, explains it. He's like, oh, here's why. But instead, they had to go for the being electrocuted until you fall unconscious angle. And at that point, they had to create some kind of serious amount of suspicion.
Yeah, that's a good point. If the host doesn't sabotage Jamal, then he isn't taken into police questioning, is he? Because then nobody suspects anything, and therefore, then he needs to somehow get an answer right when someone like the host tells him the wrong answer. I don't know how that happens. I don't know how you get that to happen without it being insanely dumb. Like, the host wanted to sabotage him because, like he said actually at the beginning of the next show, on the next night, it's like, oh, this is the biggest night of both of our lives. He clearly acknowledges that it's going to make him famous, it's going to make Jamal famous as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how you do it, Michael. And I need to
would you consider him to be a tomfool?
Yeah, yes, I would. I would consider him to be a tomfool.
And I've had it with this tomfoolery.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You got anything more to say on the host?
No. I guess he kind of seems like a dick, but I think Chris Tarrant also feels a bit like a dick.
No, Chris Tarrant isn't a dick.
Well, I don't know. Okay, so, like, I feel like in my head, I remember, like, sometimes they're, like, when there's, like, people who are kind of, like, nice but a bit lame on, reality TV, and the host is really mean to them. I relate to that because I'm also nice and not at all lame.
Yeah, no, he pokes fun at him.
Fuck Chris Tarrant.
It's fine. It's just a bit of banter. Just a bit of banter, Michael. Yeah, okay, I just want to point out, by the way, obviously we talked about just the plot and the structure of the plot, and obviously all the millionaire stuff, but on the poster, have you seen the poster for this film? Or the poster on the Wikipedia page?
No, I am quite fond of posters, as you'll remember from our Justice League review, but no, I didn't see the poster for this one.
Yeah, it says Slumdog Millionaire, and I quote, feel-good film of the decade. Now,
yeah,
I don't know about you, but I would not describe this as a feel-good film.
But what about the dance fight?
Dance fight, that is 1 point in favour of being a feel-good film.
It's not a dance fight, actually, is it? It's just a regular dance.
It's regular dance.
It doesn't even have the aggression of a dance fight, so...
Yeah, I think apart from that, it's a pretty brutal movie. You have rioting, ethnic conflicts which result in murder. You have a child being blinded, prostitution, and then some more murdering after that. It's not really feel-good, is it, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, and let's be honest, there's no actual systemic change, so...
what do you mean?
I mean, like, there's no... It's not like India's any better. Basically, it's just like some guy who is from a really crap situation did well for himself. Yeah. There is actually one thing I want to talk about this film, now that I think about it. So, the whole thing is like, oh, this slumdog is going to make millions of pounds, or millions of rupees, and he came from the slums, but it doesn't actually seem that hard, based on this film, to be successful when you come from the slums. Like, Jamal wasn't that unsuccessful. I mean, like, he had, like, a kind of... I mean, I'm going to sound a bit stereotypical here, but he had, like, what seems like a kind of standard Indian job.
Wow.
I mean, it was like working at a call center.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know about Indian.
So, yeah, it was like a pretty normal job. His brother was just, like, very rich, obviously for criminal reasons, but still very rich. And then the woman, while she was obviously, not in a great situation, she was married to an incredibly rich dude. So basically, you've got three people who all came from the slums, and without Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, they were all still kind of doing, like, not too bad for themselves anyway. So really, when you think about it, winning Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was just icing on the cake. You really could have made this film about, let me tell you a story about how I was a child in the slums, and then... I
get to wear a shirt to work every day.
I wore a shirt to work every day, and eventually I made some money, and I was able to get a down payment on a house and have children. You could have made a film like Neoliberalism, the movie. It would be like, so kids, I was working in a sweatshop, and with the money I earned from that sweatshop, I was able to pay to send my children to school. And because my children went to school, the teachers got some money, and they were able to buy stuff. And eventually our economy was built from the ground up by people willing to buy stuff made in that sweatshop.
Wonderful stuff. Yeah,
I love it.
I guess he was successful, but yeah, I mean, just goes to show you just need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and you can do anything.
Yeah, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
So what we've learned, Luke, is that interesting.
I think, to be honest, it's a very simple plot. Yeah, but it's just the story is just it's incredibly interesting. It's kind of like a Shakespeare play. If obviously Shakespeare had Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Yeah. It's that kind of just like it's just a great story. That's really what it is. Just a great story.
It's like Othello.
Yeah, and as long as it's executed well. Well, you think I think like Romeo and Juliet. Like, it's not that complicated a plot, is it? It's like just two houses that don't like each other and two people fall in love, but obviously it's one of the most famous stories of all time.
Two houses that don't like each other, just like Hindus and Muslims.
Ah, there you go. But yeah.
If only the woman was Hindu who he falls in love with. I mean, she might be. You never find out.
She might be. Who knows? So yeah, it's just like the story is just incredibly good. And as long as it's executed well, which it was, then yeah, it's going to be a very successful movie. And it's going to win a lot of accolades, like it did.
Yeah, I'm not surprised this film did well. Also, actually, you know what? Speaking of Crash, I suppose Crash also had... So this film, it wasn't an anthology film because it was about one person. But I do realize there is actually a whole thing people like. You kind of even see this with American Beauty. It's the classic, lots of different characters have their own stories. And obviously this film, it's a bit more of a personalized thing. So it's one character with lots of different stories. But I think actually Academy Awards, they like that. They like films that are about lots of different characters with lots of different stories. And if they don't have lots of different characters with lots of different stories, they'll settle for one character with lots of different stories. Okay. Yeah, they'll settle for it.
Fair enough. So we've discussed the plot. I think now, Michael, it is time to talk about the reaction to this movie in India.
Yes.
Yes. So I just want to talk about the box office first, and then you can get on to the criticism that it faced generally from India. So a few analysts have offered their opinions about the film's performance at the Indian box office. Trade analyst Kamal Natta commented, "There was a problem with the title itself. Slumdog is not a familiar word for a majority of Indians. Basically, just it didn't do as well as India as one might think." And yeah, that's interesting. Like, Slumdog isn't a familiar word, and the police detective, he says it like twice. Like, oh, what does the slumdog know? Oh, so the slumdog shows some bark. And it's interesting that. That was a terrible accent, by the way. But yes, the slumdog it's not a familiar word apparently in India. And with the exception of Anil Kapoor, the film lacks recognizable stars. And the film is not ideally suited for Indian sentiments. And to hear Slumboy speaking perfect English doesn't seem right, but when they are speaking Hindi, the film seems much more believable. So there you go. There are some of the reasons why perhaps it didn't do as well in India as you might expect. But I did read, actually, it did very well after it won the Oscar. So I'm just going up here. It did it in India. Here we go. So yeah, the film's takings in India increased 470% the following week after its success at the 81st Academy Awards. So yeah, there you go. So that's the box office stuff. Do you want to tell us about the reaction generally from India?
Well, I can read a bit from Wikipedia. I'll start off with the film Slumdog Millionaire has been subjected to a number of criticisms, notably regarding how it portrays Indian society and alleged exploitation of some of the actors. And you can pretty much summarize those two things by saying, number one, a lot of people felt like it was overemphasizing the poverty in India and like basically making India look like some kind of third world backwater. And more to the point, a lot of people don't like the fact that many of the slum child actors living in the slums were like not paid anything close to a decent wage.
Yes.
They were just like, oh yeah, we'll just have them in the slums. Just, it's fine. Because they're in slums. So just do what you're doing, slum kids, and we'll film. So that's not good. The other thing is I noticed this, like, this film made me think, like, you can't go anywhere in India without being robbed. Like, every single, like, there's some people just watching a little outdoor theatre performance, and there are these Indian kids, like, climbing up the, I guess it was like scaffolding for the outdoor seating arrangements, and they're, like, reaching in underneath people and taking all their stuff, and I'm like, wow, I'm never going to India.
Yeah.
I'll get my car ruined.
So
my wife will pressure me into giving someone $100.
Yeah, so I was just looking here the reactions from India, and for example, some guy said it's a very anti-Indian film. All the bad elements of Mumbai commercial cinema are put together in a very slick way, and it underlines and endorses what the West thinks about us. It is falsehood built upon falsehood, and at every turn it's fabricated. At every turn it is built on falsehood. I was ashamed to see it being appreciated widely in the West. Fortunately, Indians are turning it down. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing though, Luke. Like, some people are always going to complain, so it doesn't really matter.
But it is interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, like, I guess the thing is, I think it's a bit, the problem really isn't the film, it's that people don't really know much about India in the West at all. So, in fact, actually, you know what, Luke? I want to talk about this. So, like Apu?
Yeah.
I had a really good take on Apu recently, and it was basically that the problem with Apu isn't that he's an Indian stereotype. The problem, because obviously everyone in Simpsons is an Indian stereotype. You obviously know about Apu, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You said everyone in The Simpsons is an Indian stereotype. Do you mean everyone is just a stereotype?
I mean, everyone's a stereotype. So everyone's a stereotype in The Simpsons. However, and this is the important thing, the other cultures which are stereotypes in The Simpsons are very well understood. For example, everyone's like, oh, well, Groundskeeper Willie, he's a stereotype. And people are like, oh, Luigi, he's an Italian stereotype, and blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, like, Americans, as much as is reasonable, know quite a bit about Scottish culture. They know quite a bit about Italian culture. I mean, obviously, they're not, like, experts on it, but they know the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because, a lot of them have heritage in the area. But obviously, when it comes to India, people don't really know anything. I mean, they know that they poo in rivers.
Yeah, so I think your take is similar to my take. I don't think we've discussed this before, but my take on the whole Apu thing is like it's what other Indian stereotypes or what other Indian characters are there in American culture? Like, none. So
Yeah.
it's like, obviously you've got, what's the restaurant guy called, the Italian guy in The Simpsons?
Yeah, Luigi.
Which
is
it's an Italian stereotype. Like, it's just as bad or whatever you'd like to say as Apu. But the issue with Apu is, well, there's no one else with Luigi. You've got like The Sopranos and like The Godfather and like Mario. Like, there's all that stuff. So people aren't going to repeat like Luigi's catchphrase. But with Apu, like, because it's just Apu, there's no one else, people are going to say like, thank you, come again, to Indian Americans or just people from India in America. Because that's it. That's the only thing that they have. There's not like a wide array of Indian like characters in culture. So yeah, they've just got Apu. So that's what they're going to think. They're going to like say those phrases. And so when people say, "Oh, Apu ruined," what was that guy? He made like a documentary on how Apu caused him a lot of hassle. People.
I can't remember his name actually, but he made the film was called, the documentary was called "The Problem with Apu."
Yeah, the problem with Apu. It's like, oh, there's not a problem with Apu. The problem, I think, is just
with America or the West.
America. The West. There's not other Indian characters, and so like that. Then if there was loads of different Indian characters in popular culture, you wouldn't have like everyone just focusing on the Simpsons one. Yeah,
basically. And I actually have two other things to mention about, not necessarily like criticism, but kind of like things relating to this film and Bollywood. So first of all, I did see an interview, mostly because I was curious about like some of the reaction. And I found a guy who wasn't actually criticizing the film like from a moral standpoint in a way a lot of other people were. He was kind of just making an observation. What he basically said is that, and it's very funny when you think that this film is called the Feel Good Film of the Year, because he was basically saying that Indian Bollywood is in a position where like the West was kind of in maybe the 50s, where there was a lot of like aspiration and an idea of like the American dream and things like that. So like everyone's like, oh, it's all looking up, and that's where Indian culture is right now. So a lot of the Indian films are kind of crap, basically, but they're all like just really happy, really like charming stories. And he was saying like, oh yeah, this film is like insanely dark for an audience who's used to Indian films. So it's funny that it's called the Feel Good Film of the Year. The other thing is what I said about Bollywood being crap. So basically, there was a Bollywood film on, which obviously doesn't happen very often, a Bollywood film on, I think, Film 4. And I was watching it and it was just so terrible. Just so, and like, I don't know, maybe knowing the language helps a bit, but like the editing was bad. The production looked cheap. And like, here's the thing, like the amount of songs they sung, it reminded me of like Mamma Mia, where it just came like out of nowhere. And then, I don't know if you know this about me, Luke, but I actually have a quote unquote Indian grandma because my dad's parents divorced and my granddad ended up marrying an Indian woman. So obviously from my dad's perspective, it's his stepmother, but because she's been around since, I was born, she's been like my grandma to me. So she's an Indian grandma, so therefore I'm allowed to say things about Indian culture, even though I have no Indian heritage myself. But basically I was talking to her and she was saying like that she just finds Bollywood films really crap. So apparently basically there is a thing.
Well, you know what, Michael? This is very interesting because my grandmother was actually born in India. So I actually do have Indian heritage.
Gasp.
Yes.
Yeah, but hold on a minute. Was she a white person born in India?
Have a guess.
I'm going to guess yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. I mean, like, you kind of hear, I mean, it's not even that impressive nowadays because you hear like J.R.R. Tolkien, who's just so white, was born in Nigeria because of empire. How lovely.
Yeah, so I could play for the Indian national football team, Michael.
Yeah, that's crazy. And they do so great, don't they? That Indian
so great. I'd be so proud to represent India.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm just scrolling down here. There's some academic criticism of Slumdog Millionaire, and that's something that might be interesting to the both of us. But I do agree with you on Bollywood. Like, it's just, I've seen some Bollywood stuff and it's just shit.
Yeah. Have you ever seen, there's like a subreddit called Bollywood Physics, and it's basically like how like Bollywood films are just completely ridiculous. Like there's a scene where a bunch of people hold hands, like they kind of get together into a big collective ball, and with shields around them. It's from like a kind of medieval or whatever the Indian equivalent to medieval times was, and they're in a catapult. The catapult fires them over the wall, and they like land and roll around because they're like a ring of people with shields on them, and it's so crazy. So yeah, basically, I don't know. Maybe one day Indians will learn to make good films.
Yeah, it
but
just
the
seems
real question is, what about Nollywood?
Nollywood. No, yeah, it just seems incredibly simplistic. Like, it's just the films, like, you got the heroes, you got the bad guys. It's literally like stuff that has been made, like you said, in America in like the 50s and the 60s or whatever. Like, it's just like incredibly simple stuff that people apparently in India just lap up, which is very disappointing. Hopefully their standards improve. We can only hope. Anyway, onto the academic criticism.
Yes.
So the film has been subject to serious academic criticism. Neetu Sengupta raised substantial doubts.
Me Too? Did she start the Me Too movement?
She raises substantial doubts about both the realism of the film's portrayal of urban poverty in India and whether the film will assist those arguing for the poor. Rather, Sengupta argues the film's reductive view of such slums is likely to reinforce negative attitudes to those who live there. The film is therefore likely to support policies that have tended to further dispossess the slum dwellers in terms of material goods, power, and dignity. So what do you think of that, Michael?
Well, I mean, so here's the thing. So a criticism of a lot of like issue films, especially issue films that are generally enjoyed by the Academy Awards and who is mostly a bunch of old white men, is that there's often the criticism that they are reductionist. So I feel like I keep going back to it, but it's just great. Crash. One of the reasons why everyone hates Crash is because Crash is an incredibly reductionist idea of racial tension. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, every single like racist character has a very clear, like, distinct motivation for their racism. It's like, when I was a kid, a black man shot my dad, or I wanted to go to college, but because of affirmative action, I couldn't. Like, every single person, in the entirety of their racism is rooted in just, I'm angry about this one particular thing that happened, and the film essentially portrays the solution to racism to be like, oh wait, some people are actually good, and turns out that the fact that a black guy shot my dad isn't a reason to think that all black people are bad, and it kind of ignores the fact that that's not really how racism works.
It's not a legitimate point either. Yes. Yeah,
it's not a lot like the episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Divide, but let's not talk about that.
Yeah, let's not.
So, in that case, like, I'm not really sure if I understand exactly what they mean in saying that the depiction of poverty is reductionist. I suppose maybe it's got something to do with the fact that if you've ever watched, like, that thing where the guy went into the slums in India, I can't remember who it was or why he did it, but there was a documentary series about the slums in India.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he was talking about was like how there's all sorts of like industry, and there's a lot of like basically kind of normalizing the slums and kind of saying like actually it's more complicated. I guess that's kind of the best approach to it, like to show how actually people in slums do live actual lives that are somewhat comparable to real life, like they have jobs and things like that. It's just obviously not better. Well, I can imagine that.
That's what he means, like, with the reductive view. It's like, oh, everybody in the slums steals stuff, everybody's dirty, it's a horrific place to live. And people there, they'll steal off you, they're always looking to trick you, etc., etc. And obviously, Sengupta's saying it's more nuanced than that. And it's, and if people think that people in the slums are like that, the situation for those people, obviously, isn't great. It's not going to get better because it's just going to reinforce the negative attitudes that people have towards those people who live in those slums. So that's the thing, like, it doesn't portray the slum like people. It's a pretty grotesque view of Indian poverty, like or living in poverty in India. It's like all the shit that happens. There's not one moment of like, oh yeah, things are bad down here, but there are some little things which make life enjoyable. Like, you just watch this movie and you're thinking, why do you even want to live? Like, if you're in these Indian slums, like, your life must be so shit.
Yeah, I also think, like, one of the weird things about this film is I don't think it did a good job of delineating the economic and social divides within India, because you've kind of got like this weird situation where, and I guess this kind of comes back to the problem that all the characters in this film seem to be bizarrely upwardly socially mobile, regardless of the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But like, you've got this weird situation where India is a place where it's like, oh, there's this incredible poverty comparable to, I mean, I'd say like, African, like, what's that? It doesn't matter. Kibera. There's a really massive slum in Africa called Kibera. But even then, like, it's even worse than that. It's like this poverty that literally doesn't actually exist on the planet in India. And then at the same time, India is a place with a burgeoning tourist industry of, people who are happy to come there. And also a place where there is, lots of people own TVs. And there's, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And it's kind of like, and obviously, there's mansions like that his bit on the side, wink, lives in a mansion at one point.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this weird situation where it's like, obviously India is very rich, but I don't think the film like does a good job at exactly communicating what the nature of the divide is, because it's just like, it's like the rich parts are just places that you can just casually drop into as the story requires.
Yeah, well, there is a line from like what's it called, Salin the Brother. It's like, see those. That's where our slums used to be.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
And it's like, now India's the centre of the world, and I'm at the centre of the world, implying that there's, changing urban aspirations and prospects for mobility that can be seen in cities such as Mumbai. So yeah, there is that as well. But there's another criticism, which we'll tackle now. So Anna Cristina Mendez places Boyle's film in the context of the oh my god, it's not been a good day for me pronouncing things, has it? Aestheticizing and showcasing of poverty in India for artistic and commercial purposes, and proceeds to examine the modes of circulation of these representations in the field of cultural production, as well as their role in enhancing the processes of ever-increasing consumption of India-related images. So, what do you think of that, Michael?
So, okay, that kind of seemed like it was like almost related to cultural appropriation.
Yes.
Like, so, yeah, I kind of think that. Like, I was thinking this film makes Indians look really Indian a lot of the time. Like, they're all wearing, saris. I think they're called saris. Yeah. Like, a lot of the women are wearing saris. And, yeah, I guess it's I assume that India is probably not like that. I assume that you go there and people maybe look just like regular people. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, there's not really much to say about that, because I think it's probably true. And my culture is not your prom dress.
Yeah. Can't argue with that. Where do you stand on that issue? My culture is not your prom dress.
I'll tell you what, actually, this ties into a good story. Ties into what I was doing New Year's Eve.
Oh my god.
Well, I went out to see my uncle and auntie, okay, and
auntie wearing a Chinese prom dress.
Well, it's surprisingly, you're not that far off, but you're a bit far off. So my auntie's kind of like a stereotypical middle-class liberal, who's kind of just like a liberal because they have to be, because, they're white and middle-class. But when she got married in the 1980s, late 1980s, to my uncle, she got married in an Indian wedding dress, like a sari,
okay,
with a bindi. And she's white. Everyone that is in her family is white. And aside from the fact that this is my uncle who has the Indian stepmother, he is also completely white. And the reason why she did it is because she likes the aesthetic. And I kind of just like always thought it was a bit weird. Like, it's because obviously this has been like something I've been aware of for ages. Like I've seen wedding pictures. People tend to have wedding pictures up, and I've always just seen my, white auntie in this Indian wedding dress. And I thought to myself, that's strange to me. And I think because of that, I kind of struggle to have a political opinion on it. But I think actually, if I were to have a really good political opinion, it would probably be kind of the same as my opinion on the whole Apu thing, which is, it's like, if you don't really understand or appreciate the culture where something comes from, then I can understand people not liking it. And I guess the other thing is that cultural appropriation. I guess I'm kind of going to talk about cultural appropriation in general, because I don't know, like specifics of it kind of it reinforces an idea of a post-racial harmony that doesn't actually exist. So it's kind of just like a way of communicating a message of hey, everything is great. We can dip into each other's cultures. We can have fun. I can wear an Indian wedding dress because I think it looks pretty sexy. And then at the same time, like, Indians are getting curry thrown at them in the streets.
Are they getting curry thrown at them in the streets? Is that like your meatball thing last week with the Italians?
Yeah. They better be.
I mean, they're getting racially abused, but I don't know if they're getting like curry thrown at them specifically.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I think like that's kind of the thing. Like a lot of people say, oh, but what we should want is a society where everyone like engages in each other's cultures and all cultures are mixed together in a massive melting pot, and that's true. The problem is like that is the result of the ideal of the goal of ending racism. So you end racism, you end cultural hegemony, and then because of that, all cultures are on a level playing field, and then you can dress up in your Native American headdress.
Yeah. But we're not there yet, are we?
Up until that point, you're kind of just like, it's like you're LARPing as somebody who lives in, do you know what LARPing stands for?
No.
Okay, it stands for live action role playing. It's basically just a way of like saying pretending.
Oh,
it's basically like a nerdy way of saying pretending. You're LARPing as somebody who lives in a world where racism doesn't exist. And I guess the other thing, it kind of, again, it all comes back to the I don't see racism thing. It's like, oh yeah, hey man, I don't see culture. I just thought it was a neat dress, bro. I assume.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. Like, ideally in the future, yeah, we can do stuff with other cultures, but the fact is, like, some cultures do face racism, and it would be rather insensitive to, like, pretend, or like, oh, I'm going to dress up like this person, or isn't that cute when this person faces racial abuse and, lower employment opportunities and discrimination on a daily basis. Because of their culture. So yeah, I did see one thing which I didn't agree with. Is my go-to example of when like sometimes you have to realize that like people are wrong, which is this Chinese woman wrote an editorial like thing where she basically said, when I was growing up, little kids used to make fun of my Chinese food, but now people go to Chinese restaurants and that annoys me. And I was like, yeah, but like little kids are just dumb. That's not really a race issue. It's just like kids are like, oh, Brussels sprouts. So basically, sometimes people just need to get over it. Yeah.
That's what we need. We need like a good balance between the dismissive people who are just like, oh, get over it, you snowflake, and the people who are like, excuse me, you can't eat turkey on Christmas because I'm from Turkey. Those people. Anyway, so
we've got one more academic criticism, Michael.
One more. That's good.
One more. So I was hoping that you'd be able to help me with this one because I believe it's to do with religion. So I'll just read this out. So academic criticism has also been extended to the underlying philosophy of the film with its apparent ends justify means message. Many elements of the film, including the apparent redemption of Salim at the end of his life and the film's subjugation of the suffering of peripheral characters to the romantic aspirations of Jamal, are characteristic, say such critics, of a naive, providence-based vision of reality. And that providence-based vision of reality is, in theology, divine providence, or just providence, is God's intervention in the universe. Yeah. So
okay, so I can tell you a very basic thing or two about Hinduism, but I should clarify that Hinduism is one area where I don't know much at all. So basically in Hinduism, there are three words that all sound really similar, which are Brahma, Dharma, and Karma. And Brahma is so it's kind of like a lot of people say Indians believe in multiple gods, but it's kind of a bit confusing because Brahma is one god who is also the universe. So Hindus believe that God, the universe itself, is like God, and every aspect of the universe has like a consciousness. And then the various quote unquote Hindu gods, the Hindu pantheon, is actual different representations of Brahma, which kind of makes it similar to like the Trinity. Although anytime anyone attempts to discuss the Trinity, it usually ends up with them committing a heresy. So I probably shouldn't say it's like the Trinity, because then someone will say, actually, in the Council of Nicodomus, they condemned the idea that the Trinity is just different representations of God, and then I get in trouble. But it's kind of similar.
I get what you mean by that.
Basically, the thing is, so the idea is in Hinduism that the universe is like naturally just chugging along, and you've got to find your own particular place in it, which is like your Dharma. And your Dharma is like just doing what you're supposed to do. So you just got to go with it. That's kind of like where the whole caste system comes from, because it's like, oh, the workers, they've just got to go with their thing and work in. And obviously there's been like Hindu reforms, which have made it slightly less classist, but whatever. And then you've got your karma, which is basically like how good you're doing with that thing. And if you're doing good, then you're doing good. And if you're doing bad, you're doing bad. And then, of course, and that's, it's a very kind of collectivist mindset. And also, obviously, one that's like not really about, so, okay, this is what you call materialistic, because God is not an external conscious agent acting on the universe. He is the universe itself. So there is really no distinction. Obviously, in Christianity, you've got kind of like a dualism. So you've got God acting as a influencer of the world, and also the world itself as a representation of God's sovereign will. However, under Hinduism, it's just the universe. The universe's material functions are God's actions.
Okay.
So basically, so in that context, what I guess it would be saying is, so you've got the idea of like
Silent.
Yeah. So basically, the idea of direct intervention on the part of God is a very Christian and more particularly Catholic idea. So the idea of like God comes down and directly and obviously intervenes.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume what this film is saying is like, I assume this film is basically saying that this is a Christian idea being imposed on a Hindu society. And therefore, what it's kind of saying is like the idea of all these like miraculous things happening is implying that there's some kind of active sovereign agent engaging in things, where actually a Hindu would believe that, you know, things just happen as they do. So that's basically it. Seemed kind of complicated,
Yeah.
but it's kind of hard to explain.
Okay, so it's like all of this stuff like is an act of God, basically.
Yeah, have you ever seen the end of the film Signs? By M. Night Shyamalan?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, basically, Mel Gibson realizes that the reason that aliens came was so that he could regain his faith in God, because he realizes that the aliens are allergic to water. So he's like, oh, wait.
Yes.
God put the aliens here so I could realize water kills them. It's classic. Great film. So, more importantly, though, so that one's like, that's a very esoteric criticism. Although it's probably true. Like I say, there's a whole thing in philosophy between Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy. And I guess like the more you look into it, like there's probably people who would argue that it's almost like an insurmountable divide. Because, and again, like it's probably a lot of it's just, you know, philosophers being nerds who like to overcomplicate things. But then if you do think about it, you could make an argument that like Western society views things on a fundamentally different level to a lot of Eastern societies, especially when it comes to like collectivism and individualism and all that kind of stuff. Having said that, you know, at the end of the day, one day we'll all be part of one massive Western global hegemony.
But you should sure be a Western hegemony, Michael.
Okay, fine, China.
Yeah, there we go, that's better.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, okay, what about this? The old twist, because China's becoming like more and more Christian, like in an underground kind of way. So I think it's going to be like a Rome deal. I think it's like China takes over, and then they become, you know, they get the Constantine of China, and he becomes a Christian. And then it's like everything melts together, and we get some kind of horrible, perverse form of Christianity that molds together Chinese ideas with Christian ideas, and then great.
Yeah.
Then we'll all know what to believe.
So God's just back on this. So the providence thing. So God's continuous upholding of the existence of and natural order of the universe, and the special providence, which refers to God's extraordinary intervention in the life of people.
See, I think I was right on that, because didn't I say, Luke, that providence is talking about like God interfering in like a direct way?
Yes.
Different, yeah.
With miracles and stuff.
Yeah. There's also another thing within Christianity, which is continuationism versus secessionism.
Nobody
Let's
cares.
talk about that.
It's not related to Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah.
So I guess that sort of providence or divine providence did actually happen to Jamal in this, because it's a miracle. Like all the stuff he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, all the stuff all the questions he knows the answers to, and it's a miracle that he managed to win Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And you're saying that's not that's contrary to Indian or Hindu ideas of how the world works.
But having said that, Jamal is a Muslim, so I don't really know how that fits into everything. That's
a good point.
I mean, yeah. So I don't know, because Islam's a whole different thing, and we're not even going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because
so do you think, from a Hindu perspective, though, Jamal should just be happy living his life?
Yeah. Or I mean, that's the thing. It's always the problem. And a lot of even Christianity doesn't really work. Because Christianity, as you know, one of the big things is, like, for example, if someone takes your shirt, give them your jacket. And if somebody, and don't judge anyone unless if you've sinned, then you can't judge anyone, because only the person who's committed no sins can cast the first stone. And as Stephen Fry, in his long, infamous rant, pointed out, if we actually did that, we would have no justice system at all. It would be a complete disaster. So basically, I think there's kind of like an inherent problem where, like, religious ideals don't naturally fix themselves onto a actual existence on this planet. So I would kind of say, like, in the same way that, you know, when Jesus says, give all your money to the poor, you're like, oh, it probably means like 10% or something. You know,
he literally
obviously
means give it all.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, no, it's 10%. So, like, that's kind of it. So, like, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, be happy being a slumdog. And even though that's not even the term they use, be happy being a slum person.
Dweller.
And a slum dweller. And they go, nah, I'm good. So basically what I'm saying is that none of this matters because nobody actually follows their religions.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And there we go.
I guess Who Wants to Millionaire does exist in India. And if you were to win a million, then wouldn't it be a miracle?
That's true. I mean, especially in India, even more unlikely because there's more people there. You know, you win it in the UK, it's like, oh, well done, you're one of like 70 million people. But you win it in India, it's like, well done, oh wow, you're like 1 in a billion. Think about that. Think about how crazy, because people say, oh man, she's 1 in a million. And that's like a thing. Like 1 in a million, that's like a big thing. But in India, it's like 1 in a billion.
Yeah, 1 in a million.
Someone's like, yeah, exactly. There are 1,000 people in India who are a 1 in a million.
It's crazy.
It's crazy country.
Crazy. So I think we should go through the characters now, Michael.
Yes.
After the academic criticisms, which I enjoyed. I think that was good.
Yeah, well done. We managed to find some stuff. It was a good thing you found that old academic criticism thing, Luke.
It's just literally on the end of the Wikipedia page. I didn't have to look too hard for it. But anyway, the cast. So Dev Patel as Jamil Malik, a boy born and raised in the poverty of Bombay, Mumbai. Boyle considered hundreds of young male actors, and he found that Bollywood leads were generally strong, handsome hero types. And obviously he didn't want that. Boyle's daughter pointed Dev Patel out for his role in the British television ensemble drama Skins. Yes, yeah. Skins. So that's what I was going to say before about like Bollywood just being really simple. Like
and I was going to say like in like the 1950s, you know, you think about like Sinbad.
Yeah, just strong, handsome hero types. Yeah, no
sexy women.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody else. You just have to have incredibly attractive male and female leads. Yeah, nothing else. So yeah, that's the thing about Dev Patel.
Also, I mean, I know this is like completely irrelevant. I mean, like a bit bad. Yeah. Like it's the kind of a thing to drop completely out of nowhere. But I guess you might be aware that the Bollywood industry has a big habit of promoting light-skinned Indian people over dark-skinned Indian people.
Yeah, no, there is. I read in India there is just this general. I don't know how to describe
fetishization.
Fetishization of like light-skinned people, and it comes from people who are like dark-skinned themselves. It's like, oh, if you're born with light skin, that makes you special.
Yeah, they're all a bunch of Uncle Toms.
Yeah, but it's just such a backwards culture, India.
Yeah. Let's get them. Give them some. Let's go install some parliamentary democracy with our rifles. Yeah,
but did we implement that, or was that already in?
It's kind of like I think that might be more of a neo-colonialism thing, but also it's kind of like hard to tell because one of the things, there's like this thing that like white people invented the idea that white is good, but I'm kind of skeptical about that because when you think about it, like I think in a lot of cultures there's the idea like if you have like a pristine white clothing, then it shows that like it's clean, like you can afford to keep yourself clean, whereas if you are wearing like dark
skin as well.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it might. Like, obviously, it should be noted that I'm sure white hegemony has had something to do with it. Mm-hmm. But I also think that there probably is like a natural idea of like, and also you've got, for example, the fact that darkness is dangerous to human beings. You know, we're naturally scared of like nighttime. You know, black people who say like, we're taught that white is good and black is bad. I bet some of them are still afraid of the dark. So yeah. So they're hypocrites.
Racism is justified because we're scared of the dark. And so,
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah. So basically, before the British did what they did in India, so you think that the Indian people still have this?
Well, yeah, I think probably because obviously. I think it might not have been as like explicit. Probably, I think what would have happened was you probably had because obviously India had a caste system, so you would have had very rich people, and I would just expect, because I think it's quite a common phenomenon, the rich people would have tend to have worn lighter coloured clothing, which is, I believe, there's some basis. I think I'm not completely pulling it out of my arse when I say that a lot of the time rich people would wear light coloured clothing because it showed that they could keep it clean, whereas poor people would typically wear, darker coloured clothing because they showed that they could. And obviously
that makes sense. That's totally something rich people do, like get fat so they could prove that they could eat a lot.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think probably it's hard to tell. Also, apparently, sorry, I'm just going to, we can't talk about this at all, mostly because I don't know much about it, but apparently, according to my, again, Indian grandma, there is a really big religious hierarchy in Bollywood, which actually puts, surprisingly, Muslims at the top, followed by, so Muslims are like, I don't know, their version of Jews. Like all of them are actors. Although actually Jews are more producers. It's a disaster. Anyway, yeah, but apparently it goes like Muslims and Hindus are quite high up there. But apparently Christians are very rarely cast for some reason. Who knows? Just a fun fact.
Oh, that's a fun fact. So yeah, that's really the only character.
So characters. Oh yeah, characters. I did want to say one thing, okay, so I could have mentioned this on the plot. I think that the Jamal's brother was a bit like his on and off going from like hey, I sold your autograph because I'm kind of like a little kid and sometimes little kids are a bit, dickheads to each other, to hey, I'm going to save your life because I'm a nice guy. I don't want you to get I'm going to save your eyes, rather, because I'm a nice guy. And then, of course, eventually the classic, I'm going to... Okay, so here's the weird thing. I'm talking about the bit where he kicks his brother out. So Jamal gets kicked out by his brother at gunpoint. And at the same time, like, he kind of takes control of Latika. And it's kind of weird to me that Latika is later on implied to be a virgin, mostly because I'm like, didn't really look like she was coming out of that a virgin when he was like, hey, get out of here, I'm keeping your girl. So I don't know, like, I guess good on him for not, unconsensually taking her virginity.
Wait, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about, what's the brother's name?
Salim.
Who isn't Jamal? Salim.
Yeah, so that was after.
No. I don't think. Okay, I'm 99% sure it was. Okay, I'm going to explain my understanding of chronology. So, Salim, they go to a flat.
Yeah.
Salim says, actually, no, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I'm an idiot. So actually, sorry, I was getting confused. I was confusing the two different gangsters.
Ah, right, I see. Yes.
I was confusing gangster with, fat gangster, cricket gangster.
Yeah, cricket gangster.
So yeah. Okay, so yeah, there we go. So I think, based on that, I have no reason to conclude that Salim didn't commit sexual assault. And I think it's kind of like that kind of thing needs a bit of development. I mean, even if he didn't, like, let's just assume, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that the somewhat implied sexual assault didn't actually happen. He still kind of, held a gun to his brother and kicked him out for seemingly no reason. And it just felt a bit random.
There's no reason, because he didn't want him to be in the same room while he committed the sexual assault.
Yeah, well, obvious. I mean, but then we have the problem that, you see, either way, Luke, either he committed the sexual assault, in which case I'm personally against that, or he kicked his brother out for no reason, which I am also personally against.
Yeah.
And I'd say those things are almost equal in badness.
Yeah, kicking somebody out of the room, equivalent to sexually assaulting somebody.
So, what? Yeah, but basically, it was like, the brother didn't really have... He had an arc, but it was kind of just like an arc that happened. Just like, oh, I guess he's a real massive dick now. Oh, wait, no, now he's kind of good.
It's not an arc. It's kind of just like a triangle. Like, he's going one way and suddenly he turns around and goes back down the other way. Yeah.
Yes. It's not as good as City of God.
No, it is not.
Which is also a film about a slum.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah,
City of God, like I was raised in a favela.
When I say a triangle, I mean like an acute triangle, obviously, not an obtuse triangle, like with a small angle, because, an obtuse triangle would basically, well, it'd be very similar to an arc, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's true, actually, you're right.
Yeah, got to be an acute triangle. I don't
Thanks for clarifying that,
You're
Luke.
welcome.
That is important. Yeah.
Okay, I think we should wrap up now, Michael.
Yeah, I think we should wrap up. Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Do you want to wrap up with a dance scene?
See, okay, you've been talking about this dance scene throughout the podcast.
I just find it. All I do is I find it funny.
I just assumed it's like, this is what happens in Bollywood movies, so this is like a tribute to Bollywood.
Yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, as much as I make fun of it, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't have a problem. Like, it got me to watch the credits as well.
Yeah, that is true. I think the main reason is, even though I kind of implied that I had watched this before, I have actually seen this before. I saw it in a geography class.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, as you know, I have a good friend, Rihan.
Yeah, I know all about him.
And he's not actually Indian, but he's from Pakistan. And you know how it is. You know how it's like fun to blithely group people together in a way. So you just pretend that somebody,
especially if you're white.
India. Yeah, and especially if the two countries literally hate each other.
Yeah,
but we had some good fun, making fun of him because Indians were on a film, and he himself was from the Asian subcontinent. And therefore, we said, hey, look at them doing a little dance. Rihan, I bet you wish you could be doing your little dance, your brownie. And everyone found it funny.
Everyone was just laughing at it. Yeah. Great stuff.
Classic.
High school, like.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So yeah, apart from that, do you want to wrap up, Luke? Yeah. Do you want to start?
I'll start, Michael. I'll start. So basically, okay, just the bad points first. Like, obviously, there's this, there's the stuff about the welfare and the illegal housing of the child actors and the portrayal of Indian communities and poverty in India. And obviously, we had a theological discussion about providence-based vision of reality and the Hindu-based vision of reality and all that, which is very interesting. But just it's putting that to one side. And then obviously the illegal housing of child actors is a big deal. But just focusing on the movie, yeah, I thought it was good. I liked it. I did like the structure of it. Some people might criticize it as like gimmicky, but I was like, no, I do enjoy it. And I especially, like I said before, I enjoyed the payoff when he got the question right, because he was like, oh, I know where that comes from. I know how he got that question right, how he found out that answer. And that was something I very much enjoyed. And yeah, like I said, I wish there was more millionaire bits, because I thought those were the best parts of the movie. The decision to sabotage Smile by the host is extremely frustrating, and I wish they could have found a better way around it, but I get why they had to do that. And yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to watch A Serious Man again to contend whether it was better than Slumdog Millionaire. But again, this is not the greatest movie ever, so I can imagine A Serious Man probably being better. But I still think, yeah, it's a really, really good movie. And yeah, the story is excellent. It's a really good story. So
yeah,
and I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10.
Good. So first of all, Luke, regarding the Serious Man, it turns out actually that I was wrong. What I was doing the classic. This was the 2009 Oscars, obviously, that Slumdog Millionaire won, which means it was mostly reviewing films that came out in 2008.
You see, I wasn't going to say anything.
So rather confusingly, Slumdog Millionaire also came out in 2009, but it came out in January 2009. And of course, as I feel like we all know now, A Serious Man came out in 2009, and it actually was a contender for the 82nd Academy Awards. And I can't remember who won the 82nd Academy Awards, but let's ignore that for now and focus on the most important thing, which is actually...
Well, the thing is,
I was curious.
I just want to say, I thought A Serious Man did come out in 2009, but I was like, oh, he won't get that wrong.
Yeah, that would be embarrassing for me. Well, to be honest, actually what happened was I didn't get wrong that it was made in 2009. What I got wrong about was forgetting that the Oscars of 2009 would principally be for films of the previous year.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, it was the 2009 Oscars and the 81st,
Yeah.
So it would be looking, yeah. Anyway, so just in case you're interested, here were the actual nominees for Thingamabob. So there's The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which of course was that film starring Brad Pitt, I think.
Yeah, Brad Pitt. Yeah. That's not that good. I don't think.
Yeah. Then there was this is actually a film which I've heard recommended to me so many times. It's Frost Nixon, which is literally a film about an interview between a guy called Frost and a guy called, maybe you've heard of him, Richard Nixon. Then there's Milk, which is about a gay rights activist, Harvey Milk. And this is perhaps the biggest one, The Reader, which I've never heard of. And it's actually a German-American romantic drama film directed by Stephen Daldry. based on the 1995 German novel of the same name. So basically, what I'm saying is like, I mean, apparently Frost Nixon is really good, so maybe Frost Nixon should have won. But aside from that, Luke, let's actually me wrap up now. So, Slumdog Millionaire is an overrated, or sorry, what it is, it's an example of a not very good Best Picture nominee. And by that, I don't mean it's a bad film. I just mean it's one of those films where you're like, oh, you know, it won Best Picture, wow. And you watch it and you're like, okay, well, I mean, it doesn't seem like it was the best film of the year. Having said that, none of those films are that great, but you're just like, oh, it didn't seem like it was the best film of the year. Obviously, there are other times when it's like, you're like, wow, all of the nominees and the winner were just so great. You know, sometimes you get Oscars like that. Other time you get Oscars and you're like, hold a minute, all the nominees and the winner for that Oscars were just rubbish. But here's the thing, I say rubbish, but of course I don't really mean rubbish. What I mean is rubbish for a Best Picture. So the important thing is people will say, is this film not really worthy of being a Best Picture? Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm sure that you could find a better film from 2008/early 2009 that would be better than this film. Having said that, it's still a good film. Like, it's a good film for a film. It's just a bad film for a Best Picture winner.
Yeah, it's below average. Best Picture.
Yeah, with all of that said, I struggle with where to put it. But I think I'm quite comfortable putting it. I think I know where I'm going to put it. This is one of those examples where I haven't put it in a place beforehand, but I'm going to go for this, Luke. Maybe it's wrong, but maybe it's not. I'm also, by the way, just going to say I agree with pretty much all of your like good and bad things, so I don't see the point in repeating that.
Yeah.
Slumdog Millionaire, in my opinion, I'm actually going to put it. I was going to put it above Creed. I think it was slightly better than Creed because it had more going on than Creed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing above Creed was It, which I found kind of enjoyable, but you know, not great. So yeah, it's above it. I'm going to put it, and this is an interesting one. I'm going to put it below The Descent, and I'm just going to do that because I think The Descent like had more of a. It was more of what it was. The Descent knew what it was, and I kind of appreciated that. Although, if I were to put it above The Descent, I wouldn't put it above the next thing, which is The Avengers. But you know, I don't know. It was good, but it's in my number 19 slot is where it is. If you're interested.
Fair enough. Okay.
Slumdog.
So yeah, I just want to say actually, obviously it won Best Picture, and you know we can debate whether it was better than Milk or Frost v Nixon or The Reader or Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which I don't think it was. But anyway, it did win Best Adapted Screenplay, which I think is absolutely correct. I think that's the Oscar which thoroughly deserved the most.
Yeah, but maybe the book was actually better. Maybe it was a complete bastardization maybe the book is the most perfect work of art ever written.
Maybe it is, but I don't think so. I'm just going to guess that it's not because I didn't see any controversy in the Wikipedia page about like, oh, they ruined the book. So yeah,
yes,
I do think that the Best Adapted Screenplay one was thoroughly deserved because yeah, like I said, the story was excellent. So yeah, I think that wraps it up, Michael. So thank you for joining us. We've been selecting and reflecting on Slumdog Millionaire because of its 10-year anniversary, and also we're back into Oscar season. And I thought, you know, it's quite an interesting film to review.
And speaking of being back into Oscar season, next week we are reviewing. Dun, 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 dun. So of course, maybe you haven't been with us since day one. Maybe you're the one person who subscribed over the course of the year, and in that case, you won't know how this works. What we typically do, Luke,
what we've done once,
is we start with kind of some of the worst films, or not worst, or the least impressive wins, building up to the Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
And our first of the less impressive wins is, you know, Best Animated Film. Cartoons, they're for kids. And we'll be looking at Pixar's Coco.
You know what I watched yesterday, Michael? I watched Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, really? That's an animated film.
It is an animated film. So
yeah, I saw so many adverts for that.
Yeah, no, it's
everyone's about it.
Yeah, and that might win an Oscar for Best Animation this year.
Okay, I want to know this. Did it have a Peter Parker that's actually a pig?
Yes.
Called Peter Porker?
Yes, it did.
Okay,
he doesn't feature prominently, but he's there.
Because, like, to me, I mean, I'm just going to say this, Luke. I think I'm part of the group of people who the advertising is aimed at, because my initial response to the whole Into the Spider-Verse thing is it just sounds so stupid, and I feel like the thing with the advertising, it was supposed to be like, hey, no, this is a normal thing for normal people. I don't know. I mean, like, to be honest, I will probably watch it when it's like, accessible, not at the cinema.
Yeah, Peter Porker
because-
has like 5 lines, so yeah, it's fine. He's not involved really. It's mainly about the old Spider-Man, normal Peter Parker, and Miles Morales, and a bit of Gwen Stacy as well. Those are the 3 main characters then.
Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, Spider-Gwen. And the rest are just like, they don't get a lot of lines. So, yeah.
Wow. So one actual final question. Is it by Sony?
Yes, I believe so.
So what you're saying...
Was
let
it
me
by
just clarify
Columbia
this.
Pictures?
Oh yes, so I think Columbia Pictures are a subsidiary of Sony,
Oh.
which I know because of the Red Letter Media Jack and Jill review. Do you remember that
Yeah,
time
I
I did
do.
that whole thing? Yeah,
I do.
and they explain like all different things. So yeah, but what you're saying there, Luke, is that Sony, through Columbia Pictures, made a good film.
Yes, they did.
This is huge news.
This is
This is groundbreaking. I think just based on that, I might have to look into it. I might have to go, oh, Sony made a good film? This never happens.
crazy.
Anyway,
Yeah, so...
but until then,
yeah.
until we look at Coco, Pixar's, Coco's, Disney's, that's the funny joke. You know what, Luke? I'm at an impasse now because I can't do the thing that I do. I can't do the thing you do.
Yeah, so I'll do it. So we've been selecting and reflecting on Slumdog Millionaire. Thank you for joining us. Next week, we'll be doing Coco at the start of our Oscar season from, obviously, the previous year.
And it's important to note we won't be doing cocaine.
Haha. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Join us next week for Coco. Goodbye.
Goodbye.